Hi, I'm Olivia Thompson, and 3 months ago, my sister-in-law Diana turned my life upside down. She showed up at our doorstep with 3 oversized suitcases and a sob story about her failed marriage. What was supposed to be just a few days quickly spiraled into chaos, with my mother-in-law Margaret orchestrating a complete upheaval of my home, including demoting me to the unfinished basement so Diana could claim our master bedroom. Looking back, I should have seen it coming. From the moment I married Michael 2 years ago, Margaret and Diana made it clear I was an outsider. The help Diana once hissed to her friend at our wedding, thinking I couldn't hear. But Michael was different, supportive, loving, and quick to shut down their digs. At least he used to be. The night Diana arrived, mascara streaked down her cheeks as she collapsed dramatically into Michael's arms. "Mark left me," she sobbed. "He's been cheating for months." Michael shot me a pleading look, and I nodded. Of course we'd help. "You can take the guest room," I offered, already grabbing fresh linens. But Diana's eyes flitted to our bedroom door, ajar just enough to reveal the king-size bed and bay windows I painstakingly decorated. "The guest room?" Margaret's voice crackled through Diana's phone on speaker. I hadn't realized she was listening. "That tiny, dusty space? Absolutely not. Diana needs proper rest after her trauma." "Mom, I don't want to impose," Diana murmured, though she made no move to object. "Nonsense," Margaret snapped. "Michael, your sister needs support. Olivia can make do elsewhere. She's young and adaptable. Isn't that right, dear?" The way she said dear made my teeth grind. Before I could respond, Michael shifted uncomfortably. "Maybe just for a few days, honey. Diana's really upset." And just like that, I lost my bedroom. Diana moved into the master suite, complete with a memory foam mattress I'd saved for months to buy. I ended up in the guest room, but Margaret wasn't finished. The next morning, she marched in with a contractor in tow. "The guest room's air quality is atrocious," she announced, brandishing a device that looked suspiciously like a phone screensaver. "Diana's allergies would flare up. We'll need to renovate. Olivia, you understand." "And where am I supposed to sleep?" I asked, watching my belongings get hauled out. Margaret's gaze slid to the basement door. "There's plenty of space down there, just needs a little elbow grease. Think of it as a project, something to keep you busy." Michael started to object, but Diana burst into tears. "I should've just gone to a hotel," she wailed. "That sealed my fate." The basement was dark, damp, and littered with old Christmas decorations and exposed pipes. It was ironic, really, my interior design business was thriving. Yet I found myself laying a cot between a water heater and a stack of dusty boxes. "It's just temporary," Michael assured me. But as days turned into weeks, Diana's recovery became a parade of wine nights and spa days. Funded, no doubt, by Mark's cheating money. The master bath became her personal vanity, while my toiletries were relegated to a rusty shelf near the basement sink. Margaret visited daily, her criticism wrapped in a sugary smile. "Olivia, dear, I noticed the upstairs windows could use a cleaning. Though I suppose you wouldn't know from down here. Or, I'm teaching Diana your lasagna recipe. She's such a natural. Poor thing needs something to keep her mind off things." The final straw came at Sunday dinner. Margaret arrived with a real estate agent in tow and announced, "We found the perfect condo for Diana, right in Olivia's office building." "Convenient, isn't it?" Diana chimed in, flashing a grin. "I can even help with your design business. Mom said you've been overwhelmed lately." I never said. I started, but Margaret waved me off. "We're all family, dear. Diana's been such a blessing already. She even redecorated your old bedroom. It looks stunning." I clenched my fork, picturing my carefully curated decor, now covered in Diana's chaotic Pinterest knockoffs. "Actually," I said, my voice sharper than I intended, "my business isn't a family venture. And I don't need help." The room went silent. Margaret's smile tightened. "We'll discuss it later," she said, her tone icy. "Diana, show Olivia the paint samples you picked for the basement. Since you'll be staying longer, we should make it livable." Paint samples. For my basement exile. I stood abruptly, knocking over my water glass. "I need some air," I muttered, heading for the door. As I stepped outside, I heard Diana's theatrical whisper, "See, Mom? I told you she's been so unstable. Michael, we're just worried about her." I sat in my car, gripping the wheel, when my phone buzzed. A text from my best friend Lily lit up the screen. 911. Pipe burst in my kitchen. Need your expertise ASAP. For the first time in weeks, I smiled. On my way, I typed back. Sometimes a crisis is exactly what you need, and Lily's kitchen wasn't the only thing I planned to fix. I pulled into Lily's driveway, my mind churning with frustration over Diana's latest move. Inside, the smell of damp wood hit me immediately. Her kitchen was a wreck, with water-stained cabinets and warped flooring. "It's bad," Lily admitted, grimacing as she handed me a coffee. "But you look worse." Spill. We settled into her living room, and the words poured out. Diana's melodrama, Margaret's constant interference, Michael's inability to stand up for me. By the end of my rant, Lily's face had gone from sympathetic to stone-cold furious. "So let me get this straight," she said, setting her mug down with deliberate precision. "Your sister-in-law moves in, takes over your bedroom, and now she's scheming to take over your business. And Michael's just letting this happen." "He's stuck in the middle," I said weakly, though even I didn't believe it anymore. "No, he's stuck under his mother's thumb," she shot back. Grabbing her phone, she started scrolling. "You remember Karen from college? She's a real estate lawyer now. And I think you need to hear what she has to say about tenant rights." "Tenant rights?" I repeated, confused. Lily fixed me with a knowing look. "You're on the deed, right? Equal ownership with Michael?" I nodded, feeling a flicker of hope. "Then legally, they can't push you out of your own bedroom. Diana doesn't have a single right to be there." For the next 2 hours, Lily, Karen, on speakerphone, and I formed a battle plan. Karen walked us through everything: property laws, business protections, even tenant agreements. By the time I left, I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks: empowered. The house was quiet when I returned. Upstairs, the flicker of the TV confirmed Diana was comfortably ensconced in my bedroom. Michael was snoring softly in his recliner, a half-empty beer on the table beside him. I stared at him for a long moment, debating. Then I made my decision. "Michael," I said, shaking his shoulder. He jolted awake, blinking groggily. "What's wrong?" "We need to talk," I said, my voice steady but firm. "Now." He sat up, rubbing his eyes. "Honey, can't this wait until morning?" "No, it can't. This stops tonight, Michael. Either Diana moves to the guest room, or I'm moving out and taking half the business accounts with me." That woke him up. "What? You can't." "I can. I spoke to a lawyer today. Funny thing about joint assets in a marriage, they're joint." I crossed my arms, forcing him to meet my gaze. "I don't want to do this, but I will if you keep letting your family treat me like this." Michael stared at me, his expression shifting from confusion to guilt. I didn't realize, I knew things were tense, but... Tense? I interrupted, my voice rising. "Michael, I'm sleeping in a basement next to the water heater while your sister throws wine parties in our bedroom. And now she's eyeing my business too." His face went pale. "What are you talking about?" Before I could respond, footsteps echoed on the stairs. Diana appeared in the doorway, wearing my silk robe and holding a glass of wine. "Everything okay down here?" she asked sweetly, though her tone was anything but. "Actually, no," I said, standing. "We're having a private conversation, Diana." "Oh, I'm sure it's nothing Mom and I can't help with," she said, her voice dripping with Fox concern. "Michael, you don't have to listen to this. I'll call Mom." "No," Michael said, cutting her off. "No more calling Mom. This is between us." For a moment, Diana's mask slipped, revealing pure rage. But she recovered quickly, pressing a hand to her chest. "Michael, I can't believe you're taking her side. After everything I've been through." "Enough," Michael said, his voice firm. "Diana, you need to move to the guest room, tonight." Diana's eyes narrowed, her usual tears failing to materialize. "Fine," she snapped. "But don't think this is over." She stormed upstairs, slamming the door to my bedroom. Michael turned to me, his shoulders slumping. "I've been an idiot," he admitted quietly. "Yes, you have." I said that my tone was softer now. "But you're starting to fix it." The rest of the night was spent moving my things back upstairs. As I hung my clothes in the closet, Michael stood in the doorway, watching me. "I'll call the locksmith in the morning," he said, "and maybe we should look into counseling." I nodded, hope blooming in my chest. "That's a good idea." For the first time in months, I slept in my own bed. But the battle wasn't over. The next morning, I arrived at my office to find Diana sitting in my chair, Margaret beside her with a folder full of papers. "We need to talk business," Margaret said smoothly, her smile as sharp as a blade. "Family business." I stood in the doorway of my office, taking in the scene. Diana was lounging in my chair, spinning lazily side to side as though she owned the place. Margaret stood beside her, a picture of calculated poise, her handbag dangling from her arm like a weapon. They didn't even have the decency to wait for me to arrive before staging their coup. "Morning," I said evenly, stepping inside and setting my coffee down. "What's this? A hostile takeover?" Margaret smiled thinly, sliding the stack of papers across the desk. "Not hostile. Practical. We've drawn up some documents to restructure the company, make it more family inclusive." I picked up the papers and quickly skimmed them. My stomach turned. They wanted me to sign over 51% of my company, essentially giving them control of everything I'd built. "You can't be serious," I said, my voice sharp as I dropped the papers back onto the desk. "Serious as a heart attack," Diana said smugly, propping her chin on her hand. "And you might want to reconsider. Mom's had a chat with the Hendersons. They're not too pleased with your recent behavior." My breath caught. The Hendersons' renovation project was my biggest account. If I lost it, it could tank my reputation. "You've been talking to my clients?" I asked, ice creeping into my tone. "Blackmail is such an ugly word," Margaret said, her tone smooth, "but sometimes it's necessary to protect the family's interests. After last night's little spectacle, you've left us no choice." I laughed bitterly. "My spectacle? You mean exposing Diana's lies about her divorce?" Diana shot forward in her chair, her smirk replaced by a glare. "Watch it, Olivia. Things can get very messy for small business owners if the wrong people hear the wrong things." The office door swung open before I could reply. Karen walked in, her heels clicking against the floor, and Mark, Diana's ex-husband, followed close behind. "Oh good," Karen said, her voice light. "Everyone's here. Saves us the trouble of making this a two-act play." Diana shot up from the chair like it was on fire. "Mark, what are you doing here?" "Filing fraud charges," he said flatly, his gaze locking onto Diana. "You emptied our accounts, Diana. Did you think I wouldn't find out?" Margaret stepped forward, her composure faltering for the first time. "Now, see here." "Careful," Karen interjected smoothly, holding up her phone. "I'd think twice about denying anything. Olivia has recordings of everything you just said. Threats, blackmail, defamation, all admissible in court." Diana's face went pale. "You can't use those." "I can," I said, cutting her off. "Company policy. All business meetings are recorded. The acoustics in here are fantastic, by the way." Margaret sputtered, but Karen wasn't done. She slid 2 more papers onto the desk. "This is a cease and desist order preventing either of you from contacting any of Thompson Design's clients. And if you so much as breathe in Olivia's direction without her consent, we'll file this restraining order too." "Michael will never let you do this," Margaret hissed. "You're tearing this family apart." Michael's voice came from behind her. "No, Mom, you are." He stepped into the room, his expression grim. "And Olivia isn't alone anymore." Diana's mask cracked completely. "Mark, please," she pleaded, tears welling in her eyes. "This is all just a misunderstanding. Let me explain." "Explain it to the court," Mark interrupted coldly. "I'm done." Margaret's hands trembled as she clutched her handbag. "You'll regret this," she snapped, her voice shaking with fury. "Both of you." "No," I said, my voice calm and steady. "We won't. Now get out of my office." Margaret pulled Diana toward the door, but not before throwing one last venomous glare in my direction. "This isn't over," she spat. "I look forward to your next attempt," I replied, smiling coolly. "It'll be fun to shut that down, too." Once the door closed behind them, the room felt lighter, like a storm had passed, leaving fresh air in its wake. Karen turned to me, a triumphant grin on her face. "That went better than expected. Mark, thank you for coming." He nodded, his expression softening. "It was the least I could do. I'm glad you're standing up to her." After they left, Michael pulled me into his arms. "I am so sorry," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "For everything, for not standing by you sooner." I looked up at him, my heart aching and hopeful at once. "We'll fix it," I said. Together. The coming weeks saw a cascade of victories. Diana was charged with fraud, and Margaret's influence over Michael crumbled. The Hendersons, it turned out, had never even spoken to Margaret, and their project continued as planned. They even referred me to 3 new clients. Michael and I began couples counseling, untangling years of manipulation and rebuilding trust. Slowly, we found our way back to each other. 2 months later, as I sat in my home office, now a serene, productive space, I smiled at a text from Lily. Just saw Diana at Starbucks. She's a barista now. Karma's beautiful, isn't it? I laughed softly, setting my phone down. On my desk was a photo from our housewarming party, a celebration of a home free of toxic interference. Life isn't perfect, and family is complicated. But sometimes, standing your ground and fighting for yourself is the only way forward. And when you have people who truly love and support you, even the hardest battles are worth it.